What's going on, Ambitious Vet? Welcome to another episode of the Ambitious Vet Show. I'm your host, Chris Hoffman. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, surviving sales trainer, and author and award-winning entrepreneur who realized that immediate transitional education expires when you desire more than just your basic needs being met. On this show, we dive into the trenches with today's top subject matter experts, share inspiring transition stories, and provide master classes to equip you with the realistic perspective on how to reach your full potential post-military. If you haven't already, grab your favorite bourbon and a cigar or wine, or if you're on your way to work in the morning, make sure you turn this volume up. We're excited to give you the golden grenades you need to break through to new levels of success in your life. Today's show is going to be brought to you by Local Vest. According to the U.S. Small Business Administration, veterans are 45% more likely to be self-employed than civilians, and their impact is profound. Veteran-owned businesses have a $1 trillion contribution to the American economy, 5.8 million plus people employed, and 1.8 billion annual payroll. The challenge is, as businesses grow, raising capital is a big challenge for veteran entrepreneurs. Without capital, veteran businesses close and take their jobs, leadership, and impact with them. Local Vest software platform helps military veterans raise capital faster through state-of-the-art technology and the power of close-knit military community. Instead of blindly pitching into investors all over the country, veteran business owners can approach accredited veteran investors that share similar backgrounds, values, and goals. Ambitious Vet, I got to tell you, as we look to scale the Ambitious Vet Network, we just started working with Local Vest, and both the co-founders are military veterans, and couldn't say more around the onboarding process and how this matchmaking platform is helping us start connecting with other high-performing military members, both active and veterans, that are looking to grow right in the trenches with us. So guys, I encourage you to go check out Local Vest. The website URL is going to be www.localvest.com. Again, that's 3 W's, localvest.com. Hope you at least go check them out or share this around through the military entrepreneurial community. They are doing us a great service, because think about it. We like to invest around people that we know, like, and trust. Why not plug into our military community and help each other thrive?
It's time to get into the trenches, dig into your purpose, and fire up your life's fulfillment. The Ambitious Vet Podcast starts now.
What's going on, Ambitious Vet? We are right back inside the trenches this week with a new model of a show. I'm super excited about this challenge. On this week's episode, I got two impactful veterans that I'm going to be diving into the trenches with. One, Jay Fondren, and also JB Basaldua. JB is a Marine Corps veteran from 2003 to 2008. He was seriously wounded during his first combat tour in Iraq. He was awarded a Purple Heart throughout that act of valor, Ambitious Vet, and now he sits on the board and is the operation facilitator for Wildops. Jay Fondren. Jay is a U.S. Army veteran, and on November 24th of 2004, Jay was severely injured by a roadside bomb, and in October 2005, Jay was medically retired from the military. Jay is currently serving as a Wildops Director of Operations. Ambitious Vet, these two guys are incredibly inspiring. I'm excited to learn more about each of them and also their missions and what they've learned as they've gotten out and dealt with their individual challenges. Without further ado, JBJ, are you guys there?
Yeah, we're glad to be here.
We're here, brother.
Appreciate you all being here. And JB, I told you, man, I'd probably butcher your last name, man. It's like one of those things that just happened.
Hey, I totally get it, man. It's been a story of my life right there with that one, man. But it's all good, dude. It's all good.
I think you might have done better if you hadn't practiced it before we started recording.
I know. I probably should have said it 3 times out loud before I record, right? Well,
yeah, you
guys,
just got to wing it.
yeah, I mean, you just got to kick down the door, right? So, how y'all doing, man? Like, how's life and how's everything going before we kind of dive into the nuts and bolts of this impactful episode we're about to dive into?
Oh man, I'm doing good. First day for kids to go back to school where I'm at, and house is quiet and a little chaos this morning, but I'm doing pretty good.
Good. I know kids are just going back to school, so that's a big win for parents, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm doing good myself, man. Kids aren't quite in school yet, so the house can be a little hectic at times, but man, as of right now, brother, things are going pretty good.
Good, man. Good. Can't complain. And Ambitious Vet, just excited to go ahead and dive into the trenches. I mean, we scheduled a pre-interview, I think about a month ago, and the Wildops mission and what they're doing, and just kind of their way of doing it is different than a lot of retreats programs that are taking veterans out there and doing some amazing healing and also building deep, trusting relationships with other veterans. It's pretty impressive stuff. But I want to kind of lead up with our topic, and it's going to be isolation and how do we actually avoid that, Ambitious Vet. I know for myself, getting out of the Marine Corps, having 2 suicide attempts in 2014, I always led to that point because I was isolating myself and I didn't know how to open up and communicate to people because I didn't feel like they would understand me. Right. So, I mean, but you guys have heard that. That's the same old fiddle sound that you guys have heard. But I want to kind of share, the story with like these 2 gentlemen. Right. I'll start with JB, man, being a guy that, Purple Heart recipient, one of the highest honors in the military, man. What is isolation to you, man? And how have you taken practical steps on avoiding that, getting out of the military?
Isolation for me, man, after my time in the Marine Corps, I hit a very, very dark spot, for quite a few years. Drug addict, alcohol abuse. I mean, you freaking name it. Being isolated was my favorite spot to be. Felt safe, just in my own bubble. I can actually look back now and that was literally the darkest time of my life when I was isolated. I had a suicide attempt, and literally almost lost my wife and kids just because I was so stuck in my head and in that dark place, and definitely didn't have anyone at that point in time. Really, I wasn't letting anyone in my life. I pushed everyone away. And, that just dug me deeper and deeper into the ground. It was until, literally on the verge of losing my wife and kids and, getting busted doing drugs and stuff like that, to where a little light bulb went off. I'm like, man, you know what? If things don't change, if I don't get outside of this bubble or get outside of my comfort zone, I'm gonna lose everything I care about. And if that happened, the next step for me was just to, rid myself of this earth. But after Wildops and stuff like that, man, it kind of opened my eyes and changed my perspective on life. Having some guys and that'll hold me accountable was huge for me. Having guys come knock on my door and basically drag me out of the house, like, hey, JB, we're getting out, bro. You know what I mean? Like, obviously you're not going to do it on your own. So, like a little kid, somebody had to come grab me, take me by the hand, drag me out the house, whether they took me fishing or just, to the range or whatever, man, just to get me out of the house, was paramount for me, not only for me, for my wife and kids as well. Cause that kind of, started this upward journey for me. I'll plateau at times, but the trend is going in the right direction, and having that accountability, having guys in my life that care about me and care about my family, was huge. It was huge. That accountability, community, man, gotta have it. Gotta have it. We can't win. It's just like in combat, man. We're not going to go clear a house, but I'm not going to go clear a house by myself. My brothers are going to be by my side. So, it's basically that's how I look at it in my mind. I compare it to, us hitting a house or something like that in Iraq. Like, I'm not going to do it by myself. I got to have my brothers. And it's the same thing out here, because it only gets harder, outside of the military. So just that day in, day out grind with your buddies, with guys that know you. That's what kind of dug me out of that hole.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jay.
That's the thing though, the isolation, like all of us can relate to this is that, we want to take a little bit of time to kind of have some calm in our life. And so whether that's as we're transitioning or when we get out or when we're dealing with some stressful situations, we come back. And for me, like I kind of come back and my office is my sanctuary, right? So I come back and I kind of hang out in my office for a little bit and decompress. The problem is that so many of us turn that good kind of time to focus and decompress turns into long-term isolation, right? So we get in and we come into our offices or our bedrooms and we lock ourselves away. And then, it's a vicious cycle. It's this downward spiral of emotions and events where we don't see people. And if we're not seeing people, we're staying up late playing Call of Duty or doing whatever, all day and all night. And then we're not getting out. And if we're not getting out, then why do I need to take a shower? And if I don't take a shower, then I start to stink and my hygiene goes down. And if my hygiene goes down, I don't want people to come over and see what the filth I'm living in or how I'm living. And so then I isolate further, right? And the reality is I need people to come in and go, hey, man, like you're not okay, right? Like, let's get out. Let's go do something. And so like JB was saying, is having people that you check in on or check in on you regularly, having people that you live life with, right? Like one of the things I'm a big advocate for is having a mentor and having a mentee in whatever it is in life. So you need to have somebody. For me, I choose to have older men who have something that I want in life that I have them mentor me in those things. And then I in turn surround myself with people who want what I have or just are willing to listen to what I have to give, and I pour into them. And it's this flow. So I'm always being checked on and I'm always checking on people, and it keeps me from getting into that rut. But like JB, man, like when I got out of the military, I was 24 or 20, I just turned 25. And I was like, man, I'm 25. And what do you do when you retire? You hunt and fish and you hang out with your buddies, right? Problem is all my buddies are still on active duty. They're still supporting their young families. They're still doing whatever, and they're gone. And I'm just at the house. And so I would get up, and go, for me, I'd get up and go to church on Sunday and come back home. And that was the only time that I got out of my room. And my wife, after several months of this, my wife comes in, she goes, I love you. She goes, I married you for breakfast and dinner, and not lunch. So you have to get out. You don't have to get a job, but you got to get out of the house. And so those words of encouraging me to get out and do something, right? Like we're so wired for purpose that we have to put our hand to something. And if we don't, then we just kind of whittle and waste away, right? I've seen this where guys get out and they just kind of turn into that living in mama's basement playing video games. And then 10 years down the road, they come back up and they're like, man, I want to do something else. Like I want, and like, man, you just wasted 10 years of your life isolating down in the basement and haven't really been living it. So I guess the idea is that through Wildops and through these relationships that we're trying to build is we're getting guys back out. We're calling the warrior back out in them so that they can go back in and not just survive life, but thrive in it.
Yeah, no, that's great. And thanks you both for like opening your heart wide open, right? It's not easy to do that. And we're not naturally trained to just open, our hearts wide open, kind of share so raw and real like that. So appreciate that. Jay, going back over to you, brother, I know one thing that we've talked about a couple of times offline, meaning that when we're not being recorded, is like, self-care stuff was one of your biggest things that you found valuable for yourself, right? You kind of numbed what you were dealing with internally to becoming a workaholic. And I know for myself, I can definitely identify with that. And I think there's so many veterans that are out there just trying to get to that next thing, are so outcome focused, so mission driven, that they fail to take care of themselves in this case. Can you kind of educate us around how you came to that realization, and kind of some best practices for yourself in that? And then we'll go run over to JB again.
Yeah, man. Like I was I was working myself literally to death. I didn't have time for medical appointments. I didn't have time for family. I didn't have time for things I enjoyed. I didn't have time for things I didn't enjoy. I just had no time. It was all at work. And I was very successful at what I did. And but I just wasn't finding any joy in it. And so I took that, for me, I had to take that break. And when I took that break from work, I realized, man, I need to focus in on things that make me better, right? Like I need to be fit. I need to go out and be physically active. So I need to go and either work out or do jujitsu or do something where I'm out of the house and I'm not at work, and it's something that helps me out. And so, you know, for me, for a long time, that was, you know, I have to go or not have to go, but I choose to go and see a counselor once a week. I choose to go and find support groups in my area with other combat vets and hang out with them for once or twice a week or on the regular. I had to, you know, get out and do things with my family, because part of you know, my recovery program is being engaged with my family. So as much as I might not want to go, or I dread going and doing it, going and doing things with my family because it means something to them, and I'm building that relationship with my wife and my kids. And it gets me out of that isolation. So I had to focus on that self-care, because if I'm not doing what I need to do to keep myself, you know, sane, sober, and fit, then I'm not able to fight this fight, right? Like, you know, it's on the airplane, right? They tell you to put on your mask before you help put on somebody else's mask. So if I want to help my buddy out, I have to make sure that I'm working on me first, right? If I want to help my wife out, I have to make sure that I'm working on me, that I am the person, the husband, the father, the friend that they need me to be. So I have to put that work in on me first. And so that's what really kind of helped me out. But I worked myself into a 4-month hospital stay, and had to turn, you know, I checked myself into I needed a tune-up. And so I went down to San Antonio and did the VA and Army DOD programs they have there at the Center for the Intrepid, and just kind of got a tune up on it. But I had to take that time. I had to take that 4 months. And this was 10 years post injury. And so one of the things is, man, like you look at some of these things and guys are like, man, I don't have time for self-care. If you don't have time for self-care, you don't have time for anything else. You don't have time for work. You have to prioritize your recovery. You have to prioritize your health and well-being, right? And so many of us have forgotten that, because just like you said, we are focused on accomplishing the mission. No matter what the personal cost is, I'm going to get whatever my mission or task is done. But that's the beauty of being a vet, is that when we come back out and we realize that there's a massive negative to that we'll go too far with it. We will sacrifice too much for something that we believe in. But the pro is, if we can learn where that line is, man, we can do great things. We can do great things in our community. We can do great things for our country. We can do great things for society if we tap into that in the proper way. And it all begins with self-care.
Yeah. And just to add to that, and JB will go over there to you, man, is like, I feel like you're a better version for your family too, when you are doing that. Right. And I learned that the hard way. My wife, one day, she's a strong Texas woman. She's just like, look, I didn't marry you to get 1% of you at the end of the day. And my battery was low. But JB, going back over to you, brother, you know, you said you're trending in the right direction, but sometimes you have plateaus, man. I think all of us can have those, right? We go to therapy, we read self-help books, we go to counselors and stuff, but we still, at the end of the night, sometimes can be alone with our thoughts that aren't always on our side, man. How do you continue to make sure the trend's moving forward with your self-care, and how do you make sure you're doing that for the betterment of your family, and also the awesome mission you're doing with Wildops?
For me, man, you know, kind of like how I mentioned, you know, the plateau part of it, you know, those are gonna come and go regardless, whether we want it to come or not. In the past, what I wasn't able to recognize were the thoughts that were leading to a plateau. So if I'm feeling a certain way, now I'm able to recognize, like, hey, dude, you know, I'll take that thought captive in my mind, and I'm able to put it where it needs to go. Not being able to pick up on those signs, dude, will freaking it's complete chaos if we're unable to catch those freaking red flags, if you will. I'm piggybacking off of Jay, the self-care part, dude, 100%. If I can't love myself or take care of myself, or, whether it be, hanging out with some like-minded individuals that, we all want what's best for each other to kind of motivate, encourage, and push in the right direction. That could be some type of self-care. Like how you mentioned, man, counseling or therapy or something like that. As hard as it may be, and I'm just being blunt with it, like that is way outside of my bubble, dude. I have that Marine Corps mentality, like I got this, like I don't need help, I got this. I'm not, who are you for me to sit here and spill my guts type of deal, or type of mentality is what I would have. But being able to look back at it now and look from 30,000 foot, I'm like, dude, when I thought that way, my life was a freaking complete wreck. And another thing with this self-care is being consistent with it. And once again, that's where the accountability comes in, having somebody that's going to help you stay consistent, because I know I can't do it on my own, but being consistent with it, and being intentional. You know what I mean? Like, do I really want help? I know I want help, but how bad do I want some help for myself? And, sometimes that takes getting outside that bubble and being real uncomfortable. But if I want help for myself, I got to do those things. You know what I mean? And it trickles down to the wife and kids. It's like, like us as men and leaders of our home, it's like we're the thermostat in our house, dude. So,
it's good,
if I'm hot, you know what I mean? Things are going to be a little off. If I'm too cold, with the whole household, my wife and kids, things are just going to be off. You know what I mean? So I got to really, really practice that self-care. And it doesn't mean like, your wife was gone, on a girls trip all weekend. Hey, I've watched the kids for 2 weeks. Let me go out and drink some freaking beer, get messed up or whatever. You know what I mean? That isn't necessarily self-care. And if that's one of your struggles, whether it's alcohol or drugs or whatever it may be, we really got to pay attention to, what we consider self-care, if that makes sense. So yeah, man, being consistent and being intentional. If we need that help, as hard as it is to put that freaking pride to the side, we're all a bunch of hard chargers. You know what I mean? Pride kills, dude. So once I was able to put that pride to the side and just fully admit and accept that I'm a jacked up individual here. You know what I mean? My life shows. You know what I mean? What worked good in the Marine Corps and in combat might not work out here in society, and it didn't. You know what I mean? Like it's good to have the leadership skills. It's good to have that motivation and that drive, but being able to channel those things for the right purpose or for the right cause. And for me is my wife and kids, being able to channel it in a positive manner, it's life-changing, man. You know what I mean? It's just life-changing. And we have to, kick that pride to the side, brother.
Yeah, I love that.
That's that thing that we've done, where we've stigmatized mental health, right? So if I have cancer, if I have a broken bone, or if I have a bad cold, everybody's, man, go to the doctor, go see the doctor, right? Like every year, if you're in the VA or if you have established care with TRICARE, every year, whether you need it or not, you have to see the doctor, right? And so I think everybody every year or every couple of months, whether you think you need it or not, you ought to sit down with a therapist, right? It gives you somebody else who has nothing but your best interest, vested best interest to bounce things off of, right? And they can go, and then, and so I think we need to do a better job of that, of destigmatizing mental health, right? And so it's okay, right? We went to combat, we saw some jacked up things, we did some jacked up things, we experienced some jacked up things. Most of us experienced some significant trauma before we even deployed. That's why we joined the military. And if we don't healthily process that stuff, when we do this self-care, we're not going to have a foundation that is sound, right? We're always going to have to deal with that trauma. That's the one thing I can tell you from what JB and I do with Wildops is it never fails. We get out on a trip and we get to sharing our stories about the good, the bad, the ugly of deployment, and some of our trauma, and not this war porn type deal of it, but we're just talking about, man, this is what I struggled with, and this is how I handled it, and it didn't work well, or it did work well. And you get the guys that are sitting there, and then they kind of start, you start talking about something, they perk up, and then somebody else will go and they'll share something too. And usually around childhood trauma, but and then you get the guy that'll sit there and he'll go, man, I've never talked about this. I was never going to talk about this. I swore I'd never talk about this. And they get up there and they tell their deep, dark secret, or this massive pain that they're struggling with. And it's just this massive emotional release. That one, they're not the only ones struggling with that, right? And two, there is hope and healing. Other people have found it for those things. And so, but that's what the enemy wants to do, right? When we were attacking the enemy, we wanted to isolate them. We wanted to fix them. We wanted to isolate them, and then we focused in and terminated them, right? And so our enemy is trying to get us isolated, trying to get us where we feel abandoned and alone, and there's no hope. But the fact is that there's others that have come before us that went through what we went through, and have come out the other side of it better. And we just need to figure out what they did and how to continue to improve upon that.
Awesome. So guys, thanks for sharing that stuff. And I want to dive into more what Wildops is, and we'll kind of move to the last segment of the show, right? Because I love something that we haven't been, and we haven't said about Wildops yet, is like, it's a faith-based organization too. So there's a lot of like Christian-based counseling there, and also meditation type modalities, right? Jay, I think you're certified in something around meditation or something like that. And all this stuff is important as well, right? Believe the things that are not seen, right? Sometimes we can just see things right in front of us and, be like, hey, is this all I have? Or, see the glass half full versus, well, actually half empty versus half full, in other words, right? So tell us more about Wildops, kind of the core philosophy, and then also kind of what you guys are providing with Wildops.
Yeah. So we'll tell you, we are faith-based, but we don't preach, we don't teach, and we don't fix, right? All we do is we share our stories of what's happened to us and how we've come through it, right? And then we ask questions. We use motivational interviewing techniques, but we ask questions that allow you to reframe and strategically think about your problem in a new way, right? Like, our Jeff, our founder, he has this, he probably stole it from somebody, but what he says is that oftentimes the answer before the question does more harm, right? So if I give you the answer to your problem, but you don't realize you have the problem, that's not going to help you. I need to help you. I need to provide some structure and some framework and allow you to come to the solution to your own problem and guide you through that. And you have buy-in on that. And so that's kind of our method. Now, how we do it is we take guys out on high adventure trips. So mostly they're focusing around fishing, and most of the time that's fly fishing. But we take guys out in the wilderness. So you get this very tight knit group. We're 8 combat vets and then a couple of facilitators on a trip. And so you get this tight, almost like squad type level of camaraderie. You're out in some beautiful, beautiful wilderness. So it's like being in the field, but it's pretty. And then, and we feed them real good too. So it's nothing like being in the field, as a matter of fact. But, but we get them out in nature, out in these high adventure trips, and the walls start coming down. And so like you'll have like JB will share his story. I'll share my story. And then the guys get up and they start sharing their stories, and they just start opening up. And then we do this over while we're out in the field, while we're at the lodge, while we're doing all this stuff. And so it's in that sharing and realizing that they're not alone, that they form these, or the fact that we've just stripped down the mask and tore down the walls, and everybody's just opened their heart and gutted themselves in front of each other. The guys go, they've got nothing on me, right? I know their secrets. They know my secrets. We can be authentic and real. And we are. And so we I've got friends from my op, still, JB's probably got friends from his op. I've got the ops that I've facilitated on. I've made new friends on that. And so we form this tight knit group, and then we keep the guys coming back and having these little alumni groups. And we're starting to see them get together, guys that aren't on the same trip, but are, maybe a year or two apart. They're starting to realize, hey man, we're all in the same area, and they're getting together and having little meetups. And so That's the thing. We long for community. That's the one thing when we left the military that we lost, right? We didn't know where we fit in. We didn't know who our people were, and we didn't know our place, and we didn't have a purpose. And so coming back into that, we're helping them find community. We're helping them find identity. We're helping them find purpose and hope. And
a lot of these guys, man, they're coming out of that isolation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So this could be, or a lot of the time it's the first time they've done something with an organization. And man, day one, guys are there. It's, trying to just, fill the room out, who's who here. That's how it was for me on my trip, my op when I first went as a participant. That was the first time I've come outside of that isolation bubble and have been around other veterans talking about anxiety being high, right? But man, day 3, day 4, day 5, man, guys are basically up there gutting themselves, like Jay said, camaraderie, and the it's literally like having a freaking squad or just being back in the military again, man. And like Jay said, guys long for this. It's been missing out of their lives for such a long time, and we take it and we try to channel it into a positive direction. You know what I mean? Take all the love that you have and what you want, as far as brotherhood goes, and run with it, but in a positive direction. You know what I mean? We can give you some tools on how to, channel it for your own good, basically. And like Jay said, man, these alumni meetings and the relationships that guys form while they're out on these trips, man, it's so humbling. A guy gets up there, gives a story, and you got 80% of the guys in there nodding their heads and stuff like that because they can relate. So being able to be out in the wilderness in God's country, being able to relate with some like-minded individuals, and for the longest time, you might have thought that you were the only one that thought this way. It's like, nah, brother, we're in this together. We're a team, and we can make this happen and make it work. Yeah. And like Jay said, you'll go back home 5 to 10 pounds heavier off of the food that we eat. So
your hearts are lighter, but your weight is heavier. That's great, man. That's awesome. And I think, like, to your point though, JB, is like anytime a veteran comes into any new environment, it's, we're very skeptical, we're very strategic, situational aware. So, I mean, it's cool that you guys have a multi-day sequence of gutting each other in ways that, we're used to probably being gutted in the military, just in a good way here. You guys have a good rollout of events scheduled too. It looks like you guys are doing an average of like 2 a month as well. So guys, make sure you go and check out Wild Ops website so you can, continue to look at what the upcoming events are and apply for those and all that good stuff. But JB and Jay, want to kind of wrap this up with the last segment of the show. Is man, there's a veteran out there, as you guys probably know, that's one that maybe actually there's an active duty member and a veteran. Let's say it like that. There's someone that's still in the military that's, just getting out. They're super excited about getting out of the military. Remember, it's like Braveheart, freedom when you're about to come out of the military, right? And they're eyes wide open, excited, but they don't know what's about to hit them. And then there's also a veteran that's been out for a few years, right? Realize that career readiness type education, healthcare benefits, all this other education that's thrown down our throat, gets us basic needs, but doesn't get us down to some core needs that you guys have already been talking about. What would be some last save rounds that you would provide to these two veterans or active duty members that would be listening to this show right now? And then we'll give them a call to action to go figure out more about what you guys are doing. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. So
yeah.
To the individual that's transitioning from active duty to being a veteran, it is very much like going into combat. You think you know, but you don't know, right? Yeah. There's this safety in being on active duty that you have that you lose when you get out. So make sure you take advantage of all the programs that the military has for you as you transition. Make sure you're getting your VA benefits lined out early and your education benefits lined out early, and all of those things. There's some phenomenal programs out there now for guys that are transitioning, to take advantage of. So make sure you get that done. And two, don't neglect your family, right? So if you're lucky enough to finish the military and still have your family intact, make sure you acknowledge that's a huge win. Most individuals don't come out of the military with either a retirement or a family. You can kind of pick the two, one of the two. For the veteran that's out, man, like keep doing the things you need to do to improve your position improvement, right? So keep taking the classes that you need, finding the support groups that you need, finding down here where I'm at, we've got 3 or 4 like small business associations that are just for veterans, or Rotary clubs that are just for veterans. And these little fellowships are just for veterans to get in to help further you in your specific business, or make those connections and networking. And a lot of times, man, it's not what you know, but it's who you know and your ability to get that done. So take advantage, like I said, take advantage of your education benefits, finish your degree, take advantage of the resources that are available for you. And most importantly, if you're blessed enough to get through the military with your family intact, continue to work on that. Continue to work on your relationship with your spouse and your relationship with your kids.
Totally agree, Jay. For the active duty guys, just stay on the role that you're on. You know what I mean? Get out and, like Jay mentioned, don't waste any time. You know what I mean? That was my thing. I got out and, I'm gonna take a year just to chill and kind of, sit back and relax a little bit. And that was probably the biggest mistake that I made, because I freaking ended up digging myself so freaking deep and got so comfortable with that. It led to me literally, ending my life and losing my wife and kids, one of the two. So yeah, hit the ground running when you get out. Obviously there's a lot out there for us. And, a lot of it, you're going to have to put in the work yourself and find some of these organizations or find some of the benefits that are out there for you, because coming out of the military, a lot of times you don't have all the answers, and that you don't get all the info or the organizations that are out there for us. So we got to do a lot of hunting ourselves for those types of things. And to the veteran, if you're isolated and in your mind and in your heart, that things need to change, it's gonna depend on you. How bad do you want things to change, and are you ready to work on some things and knock some of these freaking walls down that are around our heart that we've tried to protect for so long, or the walls, or the walls that we put in place to kind of keep people out from really knowing us, and if you're ready for those things to change, you're gonna have to take the first step, and if you don't have that accountability around you, no one's gonna come in to grab you. So either your life depends on it, or your families, they depend on us. So taking that motivation and that bravery that we have, or that have been the things that have been instilled into us while we're in the military, we're gonna have to grab some of that up and freaking use it to be that leading hard charger that we're put on this earth to be. And Wildops is, we're here waiting for you. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that. And it starts with you, Ambitious Vet. So, guys, Ambitious Vet, that you're listening to this right now, make sure that you are going and checking out Wildops. These guys are doing some amazing work. We constantly get great feedback from even PTSD Foundation of America around guys going to these retreats with Wildops and stuff like that. So great work, great programming, and a way for us to stop being numb in life, man, and start feeling around guys that relate to us. So Jay or JB, whoever wants to go, where can an Ambitious Vet that is listening to this right now go and learn more about the next events and how to get plugged into the awesome community that you guys have been talking about?
So you can find us on all the social media stuff. So we're on Instagram, and it's our website's www.wildops.org. So you can go on that. So wildops.org, and off that website you can find our social media feeds and our website, and read the stories and the backstories and see some of the photos, about where some of the venues and all, and they're absolutely amazing. We'd love to have people apply and get out on our trips.
Yeah. Ambitious Vet, go and make that happen. JB and Jay, thanks for coming in here and sharing some raw stories, man, and talking around a timely topic of like, what is isolation? How do we get ahead of it? And giving us practical next steps around plugging into a healing community like Wildops. Thanks for joining the show, y'all.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thank you, Chris.
The Ambitious Vet is available on all popular podcast platforms. Go to vettrainingcoaching.com to subscribe, rate, and share with fellow vets.
Today's show is going to be brought to you by Local Vest. According to U.S. Small Business Administration, veterans are 45% more likely to be self-employed than civilians, and their impact is absolutely profound. $1 trillion contributed to the American economy, 1.5 million plus people employed, and 1.8 billion annual payroll. The challenge is raising capital to scale and grow your company. Well, why not plug into the community that we have been trained and developed to close with and destroy the enemy inside of. What do I mean by this? Well, Local Vest is a software platform that helps military veterans raise capital faster through state-of-the-art technology and the power of our close-knit military community. Instead of blindly pitching to investors all over the country, veteran business owners can approach accredited veteran investors that share similar backgrounds, values, and goals. Ambitious Vet, I encourage you to go check out localvest.com. I'll have the link in the show notes below. And if you are not a veteran entrepreneur, make sure you're sharing this out inside of your local network of veteran small businesses looking to gain capital to grow and scale their next purpose in life. We'd appreciate it.